What if you could knock off at 4 o'clock every single Friday? Hello, Avani Dias here. This is the Hack Podcast, and that is the plan being pitched in Melbourne. We're going to talk about why in a second. It's to bring business back to the CBD, and perhaps it could be a plan that could be adopted all around the country. And are you keen to have kids? It's going to get harder and harder, apparently, because sperm counts in men are going down. Later on this episode, we're going to talk to the scientists who have found out what materials are leading to this situation. Plus, it could get more expensive to fix your phone or tech products because of big companies like Apple and Google taking over. And there is a push to deal with that so it's cheaper for us and we have some rights.
Oh, it's just a ghost town in here. Certainly get the bars bumping again.
On Triple J.
All right, picture this. Every Friday you do some work, then it hits 4 o'clock and you head out into the city. This is the plan being pushed in Melbourne right now for every workplace. The city was obviously really hard hit with lockdowns, and now people are very slowly going back to the office, but businesses like pubs, restaurants, gigs and galleries are still struggling without people around. So there's a plan to get people back into the city and spending money at those places on a Friday night. I'd love to hear from you. Do you support a 4 o'clock knockoff? Would it get you back into your CBD, wherever you are? 1300 0555 36. Our reporter Dee Salmon lives in Melbourne, so she's very keen to find out more.
So I'm out the front of the train station in Melbourne CBD. It's 4 p.m. There's some pubs across the road from me, a few people walking around. But yeah, it's pretty quiet. It's definitely not what it used to be like. But yeah, who knows? That could very soon be changing. There's a new plan for city workers here in the CBD to finish work and knock off at 4 p.m. on Fridays so we can all head to the pub with our mates. There'll be hopefully free public transport for everyone, special events planned and deals at bars and restaurants. So it's probably a pretty obvious question, but would people be keen for this?
Yeah, for sure. Why not? An early knock-off.
3 o'clock and 4 o'clock.
It's Friday night. You've had a long work week. You should be able to finish early and start the weekend early.
Do you work in the city?
Yeah, I work in the city. I work on Burke Street.
Have you just come back in recently?
Yeah, recently.
Okay, cool. Did you feel like you missed like a bit of the social thing?
Oh, definitely. Like, at home, like, you just stay at home, like, drinking by yourself or, like, with your housemate.
I think you would encourage more people to start coming back to work rather than working from home as well if they're going to be working and getting an extra hour off. I don't know. It would certainly get the bars pumping again.
Yeah. And have you noticed that working in the CBD that they've dropped off heaps?
Well, it's just a ghost town in here. So
I think it's really good. I think it's good to have it government mandated. So if it actually works and it is enforced, it could be really beneficial for mental health.
And like you guys work in the art industry, like how important is it for, you know, people to be out seeing exhibitions and like doing things?
I think it's so important. It was an industry that definitely took one of the hardest hits. And so to see it really coming back and people getting behind it and supporting it, especially the government with this change to knock off work early on Fridays, it's really great to see people really putting support behind an industry that really struggled.
The gig industry, retail, theatre, small cafes, bars, restaurants, so many businesses were hit hard last year, especially Melbourne's beloved pubs.
Oh, we're all behind anything that the Melbourne City Council want to do to try and drive more people in, especially being, you know, Melbourne's oldest hotel. We want it to see it full again. We want to see it busy, and we want to see people out just having a good time exploring and playing in Melbourne on the weekend.
That's Brian, the manager of The Duke, an iconic Melbourne pub right in the middle of the CBD. And about 80% of the people who head in there for drinks or dinner are from offices around the area. So for the past year, their business has been really struggling.
Oh, absolutely. The last year has been really challenging for that. Even when we did reopen with, 20 people per space, we managed to do that. And we just need to get that next edge up so then we can keep re-employing people. We can then keep providing people with offers and opportunities as well to come out and experience a night out in the city.
We know that before COVID, close to 1 million people came into the city of Melbourne every day, and about 500,000 of those people were office workers. And for every one of those office workers, another 5 jobs in the CBD is supported.
Danny Hunter is from the Property Council of Australia and is the person behind this initiative, and they're calling it Fab Fridays.
And it was incredibly obvious to us that the people in those small businesses are really hurting. We're about 70% down on normal foot traffic in Melbourne.
So to try and bring the city back to life again, they're working together with pubs, offices and businesses to try and get this plan rolling. And so far, everyone's pretty keen, including the government.
If you're in the office on a Friday and you're having a great day with your colleagues and your peers, we want your employers to support you with an early pass on a Friday so you can go out and enjoy what the city has to offer.
Danny says it's also super important to get young people into the office because for a lot of them, it could be their first full-time job after school or uni. So there's a lot of social and career benefits.
This is really very important for young people to make sure we don't get stuck in this virtual world where we're not as visible to those who can help us promote ourselves and to opportunities and seeing and finding opportunities to not only just learn and connect with others, but to actually promote ourselves through our career progression.
As best we can tell,
come into the office on a Friday, come and have an after-work drink, go for a shop or take in a show, get excited about Friday nights and the weekends in the city.
I love that. I'm going to hopefully take one for the team and head out to the CBD, so I'll let my boss know that.
Great.
that's what must
on Triple
be
J.
Beers.
Oh, yeah. I feel like this song is very relevant to this. Do you support the 4 p.m. knockoff? To potentially get on the beers or potentially do anything else? Go out to restaurants, galleries, any kind of business. Would it work for you? 1300 0555 36. And yeah, if you're not going back into the office or into your workplace, what would it take to get you back there? I'd love to hear from you. 1300 0555 36. Someone texted in New York, they have summer Fridays at lots of companies where during summer months you can finish at 2 on Fridays. Cass has called in. What do you think of this 4 p.m. plan?
Look, I love the 4 p.m., the 4 p.m. knockoff and getting people back into the city and socialising and getting out of that virtual bubble. But I do really think that we need to be really mindful of how we reward ourselves at the end of the week, and that in Australia we reward ourselves with alcohol, and that's a real issue. And especially during COVID, we've really seen the amount of drinking and addiction issues really rise through that.
For sure. Yeah, it's kind of like a thing, isn't it, that everyone just goes to the pub on a Friday, but perhaps that's not the best for everyone, which is something to totally be mindful of. Thanks so much for the call, Cass. Let's talk to Karen Gately because this is all about workplaces and how they're adapting after COVID and how we as workers are dealing with that. Karen is an HR expert, so she's been looking at how this has been going. Thanks for coming back on Triple J. What do you think about the 4 o'clock knockoff idea? Is it good for workers?
Well, look, I think there's a couple of things that are obvious benefits in terms of reconnecting with one another, socialising, getting to know each other outside of, just sitting in our offices. And clearly there's a lot of, hospitality workers or people in industries that are really suffering, and clearly it's good for them if we can all get back out there and spend some time.
Yeah, Karen, is this actually applicable to a lot of industries that young people work in, though? A lot of young people work in hospo or are tradies, and the hours aren't just 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, right?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly right. So I think obviously the proposal, from what I can tell, is really driven by let's get our city humming again, let's help those businesses to recover. But obviously a lot of the people who will be working in those situations will be young people. So I think there's some truth in that. I think it's for a group of workers that will have a potential benefit for in terms of our workplace relationships, etc. But as we said, it's also good for people so they've got some hours and work to actually do.
Yeah, for sure. Someone texted, I work for a bank. We changed our Friday closing time to 4 p.m. and now close later on a Thursday instead. I'm loving early Friday knockoff as I can actually head out on a Friday night for dinner with friends. Tim has called in. So you run a business. What do you think of this idea?
It was fantastic. We already do that. And we started work Tuesday to Friday, half an hour early, and banked 2 hours in lieu. And so everybody finished off at 3 o'clock on Fridays.
And what was the purpose? Was it to get workers more excited about, ending the week and being a bit more productive, or to help businesses in the area?
It was more to make the business more productive, because on Friday afternoons everybody pretty much switched off anyway and business slowed down. So
fair enough.
We got more, as the boss, we got more productivity out of the staff, starting those early hours. And everyone was super excited to finish on Fridays, and as a boss, it also kept staff working there longer because they didn't get that anywhere else.
Yeah, Tim, I'm sure a lot of your staff are probably loving you as a boss for doing that as well. Karen Gately, what do you think about the COVID situation? Obviously a lot of businesses are getting back to what it was like before the pandemic. Are you finding that people are keen to be heading back into an office if that's where they are working?
I'm finding actually most people are keen for a blend. So I think there's been a lot of benefits we've gained around, for example, work-life balance and, being able to actually juggle all of the demands in life. So people are keen to retain some of those benefits, but also are absolutely missing that interaction that we have in the office, the casual chats in the kitchen or the ability to go out and have lunch breaks with each other, but also just to actually workshop things together, make decisions together. A lot of people feel that in some circumstances it's actually easier when we're in the same room. So I'm not hearing a lot of people saying, I want to go back exactly to the way it was in terms of I want to be there 9 till 5, 5 days a week. I think, a lot are actually saying, is there a different way we can actually do this? And, to the previous caller's comments, I agree. Friday afternoons from a productivity perspective have been an issue for a long time.
Yeah, you get over it by Friday.
Yeah. In my own office, there's somewhat of an ongoing, laugh about the fact that we work for as long as Karen can focus on a Friday afternoon. So I can personally relate to that.
Yeah.
So I think employers are smart to really think outside the square around, how do we help our people to maintain that balance, but to be connected and to feel that they're actually, united and on the same team.
Yeah, and obviously there are a few good things about the pandemic, but one thing is that it has made work more flexible and bosses more keen to do that. But are you hearing from bosses or from workers that their workplaces are actually keen to give them that flexibility now things are going back? Because we're hearing two things. Like, on one hand, we're hearing from people who are saying, I'm being forced to go back into the office, I don't want to. Other people saying, I want to go back, I'm not allowed to. It does seem like it's a bit strict at the moment still.
Yeah, that's right. I think there are some employers that are very much stuck in the old ways of working, and often that's because they don't have the confidence that they can drive productivity and hold people accountable and build a team from afar. So a lot of those people are saying, no, not open-minded to it. But I would actually say the majority of our clients are actually shifting their mindsets around that, and many are actually coming to the realisation that flexible work practices very soon will not be a competitive advantage. It will be a baseline expectation that people have, that you're at least willing to be flexible, you're willing to think outside the square about how people can actually be productive and deliver on their role. So unless we're willing to explore those options in our individual businesses, we're going to struggle to attract and retain the people that we need and want to.
And just quickly, Karen, what is your advice for people who are either wanting to stay home or wanting to go back in, but they're not being given the options that they want or the flexibility from their bosses?
Well, I think the starting point is always honest conversations, right? If you, again, obviously it's very dependent on the respect and trust and respect in your relationship with your employer, but if you can have an honest conversation about why you need or want that balance and what benefits you can see, that helps. But also be ready to talk about how you can ensure that you're able to deliver on your obligations in your role, even if you aren't actually in the office full time. So speak to the business's needs, not just your own. So talk to them about, this is how I make sure I'm still connected. This is how I make sure that our clients don't ever feel unloved or, lack of response or whatever it might be. So think about, what are those key outcomes in my job and how can I still make those happen irrespective of where I'm working?
Cool. Some good advice. Karen Gately is an HR expert. Thanks for coming on the show.